What is art? Art is expressive, emotional, a process that is not linear and it doesn't have to be logical. However, even the most abstract forms of creativity needs a space, a boundary to grow. This idea became the foundation of my concept. I started sketching, like an artist does, to visualize this nature of art. The rectangle represents structure, stability, and boundaries, while the circle symbolizes the endless, non-linear spirit of creativity. From this, I developed a concept where rectangular forms act as the framework and the circle represents art itself. Art isn't just visual, it's an experience. So I chose raw materials like concrete and wood to evoke the feeling of experiencing art firsthand. I also used the steel mesh to reflect the interplay between structure and creativity. For the color scheme, I'm using pink to represent the early stages of creativity, red to represent the intensity and emotion behind art making, yellow to spark creativity and also for curiosity and energy, blue to bring a sense of stability and deep thinking, gray to represent neutrality and allowing other elements to stand out. That's how I came up with Eco Academy, a space where experiencing art leaves a lasting impact on students and their creative journey. The academy is located in Khobar city, chosen for its strategic position and high quality of life, attracting both students and staff. The original mass was scattered, so I started by connecting them. Then I elevated the north side for sunlight. Then I applied the conceptual idea of a structure for art to grow by overlapping rectangular forms in an artistic composition. The 3D zoning shows how most of the academy is utilized to help students in their creative journey. For the site, it shows the first signs of the concept, with circles surrounding the rectangular forms, as if art is seeking a boundary to grow. The overall massing was inspired by the feeling of lifting a curtain from an art piece, which in this context, the art piece is the art created by the students. Each mass uses color to express function: pink at the main entrance to express the beginning of creativity, yellow to express dynamic and activity, red to show emotional intensity of art making. And the difference in heights represents the growth of students as they progress through their journey. The interior courtyard connects all zones in the mass and can also be used as an outdoor gallery. This is the section which shows how I'm contrasting the rigid rectangular masses with the fluid and dynamic interiors. Starting with the reception on the ground floor. For the color scheme, I used red and yellow to energize the students and gray to let these colors stand out. The reception features a dynamic lines, echoing the flow of ideas around the space. I also used the steel mesh to create a transparency and creative dialogue. The exhibition uses the same concept of lifting a curtain from an art piece, like the mass. For the rest of the plan, on the left side, we have an auditorium at the end of the exhibition. And then we have the administration space, which is located close to the public space for easy accessibility for visitors. Now, starting with the students' zones on the right side, we have a shop to sell the students' artwork and then a printing area for the students. Then we have the jewelry studio, and it's located in this space because it doesn't require sunlight as the rest of the measures. Then we have the material library, the heavy machine area, and the storage. And then the hallway takes us to the sculpting area studios. For the hallway, I'm using a signage system using the circle, which represents art, and dynamic lines coming out of the circle, which is like the creativity coming out of the art. And I'm using these dynamic lines to navigate the students around the academy. As for the gathering area outside the sculpting studios, I'm using it to create connection between the studios, and that's why I'm keeping the walls transparent. In the sculpting studio, I used blue to reflect the focused and slow nature of sculpting. The zones inside the sculpting area includes the sketching area, the sculpting area, and also a working area with a storage and cutting area. The exposed ceiling symbolizes the raw process of creation, along with dark blue to reflect the depth of ideas in this space. A darker gray is used in the flooring for the sculpting area to make the sculptures stand out more. For the working area, it's used for cutting wires to create the space of the sculpture. I also use the steel for the washing area to keep it hygiene. A 3D section illustrates the full sculpting journey from sketching to changing to creation. Moving on to the first floor, there is an event area which can be used for many activities. It could be used for open classes where all students can participate and watch, which create engagement and sharing of ideas. It can also be used for showcasing artworks, which also evokes engagement in the academy. As for the rest of the plan, on the left side we have the painting major alongside with a drawer area for them and also a storage for them. On the right side we have different types of classes and also a big class for shared classes between majors to emphasize this feeling. However, I'm keeping the edges exposed to remind the students of their true identity as artists. At the end of the class, there is an activity area with the furniture that can be used as a seating and also as a stand for boards. Moving on to the second floor, which has the teaching area and a gathering zone for working, studying, and reading, since we also have the library in this area. And it can also be used for making connections, especially between teaching staff and students, as they are themselves also artists that students can learn from. I'm using pink and red to show the difference between emotions in this area. Students can go from early stages of creativity to stages of explosion of ideas. The staircase acts as a focal point that students can gather around, and I'm also emphasizing the staircase by duplicating the circles around it. I'm also keeping the dynamic lines to express the emotion of art. For the third floor, which is the last floor, is the brainstorming zone. This space sits at the top to offer the best views, inspiring students during ideation. I used red and blue to reflect the duality of brainstorming, passion, and deep thinking. There is a brainstorming zones for individuals, groups, and also customizable workspace. The brainstorm area is all about flexibility, so I made sure that every piece of furniture is movable. I used exposed ceiling and steel mesh expressing openness, flow, and the raw nature of ideation in this zone. The dark blue here brings stability to the design to stabilize the floating ideas around this space. For the unit detail, it's a piece of furniture that acts as a partition, storage, and display. I'm also using wood to bring warmth to the area, and I'm using gray for the display area to help the displaying elements to pop out. And this is the detailed drawings for the unit detail. Lastly, to give you the full experience of this journey, I would like to share the process behind this project, since the process itself is also considered art. Thank you.